Okay, we're live, Dave. We're recording. I wanted to ask you. You saw Rise of Skywalker this past Monday. You and your wife went. You had a good time. 3 hours long. The pre-Christmas. This is a tough time for a big movie like this to come out because everybody's so busy with family obligations and work schedules, and things are just crazy this time of year. And then to release a movie as huge as this one this time of year to try and crunch that in. How'd that work out for you guys?
It worked out fine, and we was able to see it free of charge because, like I've mentioned before in previous episodes, we do have the Cinemark rewards because
Right,
we are big movie goers, as y'all know that, and we just
right.
build up our points until we feel like to use them. And this movie was coming out,
It
and
seems like it's worth the money. I mean, the $9, right? It's like
oh yeah, it
guaranteed
is.
one ticket per month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each
Each
per
month you
account.
get one. Yeah, you get one free ticket
And
per
that's
month.
if you go to a matinee show, that's $5. So that's half the cost of the subscription right there is the movie
Hmm.
ticket.
And plus, you get 20% off your concessions. So
And that's a
it,
big. Speaking of concessions, since this is a non-spoiler discussion of your reaction to the film, not a review, you want to talk about what you chose as far as collectibles from the theater?
well, I did. I always get the popcorn tins if if they have a tin for a particular movie or cups. I always like to purchase that. So I'm a big collector of theater popcorn tins and cups, and I chose the cup and the tin. If I can get both, I'll get both. Sometimes they don't always provide both, but most of the time they do. And I've seen that other theaters like AMC and probably bigger Cinemarks, they do provide like cup toppers and other selections. And I even seen a post that somebody had bought an actual R2D2 popcorn tin, like
Popcorn bucket.
an actual
It
R2D2
wasn't a
popcorn.
throwaway. This was a tin.
No, it was like a 10. And I think the guy said he paid $50 for it.
Holy cow!
I mean, if you're gonna pay $50 for a 10 like that, it better be like the actual thing. You know
It
what I
better
mean?
actually do like beeps and boops and shit at that price.
Hmm. But
But so you got something for the collection. So we can see
yes,
that on your Instagram, can't we? The photos of what you picked up.
yes. At you can see it at Blucher's videos and toys is my Instagram page, and you can check all the stuff that I have out. I even post reviews, and I will be uh, posting regular reviews on IGTV. So check all that
Yeah,
out and everything. So
2020 is a big year for you and IG. You plan on using that model to expand your audience and your where your availability is going to be. In
yes,
addition to YouTube, in addition to the Savage Podcast as well.
yes,
We don't have a Savage Podcast for Instagram yet. We need one,
yeah,
like
that'd be a good deal.
ads page for IG. Be
Hmm.
cool. One of the things that could be easily added. So, not giving anything away. Um, did it go the way you thought it could possibly go, or were you completely surprised by the way things played out in Rise of Skywalker?
Well, heading into the theater and knowing that this movie was coming out at the end of the year, I had no expectations.
Yeah,
Specifically because of the way the
you
Last
had to
Jedi,
guard your
yeah.
heart was
Uh,
already wounded badly by Last Jedi, by like a lot of us.
Yeah, when I went to go see Solo, I got a little piece of that back. So,
Yeah,
and I love Solo. That's one of my favorite
Solo was
movies.
a healing for sure. For
Yeah,
us
and
original trilogy guys.
I know that movie gets a lot of flack, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. So if I can watch it multiple times and within a year, that means I really like the movie. But
I
anyways, getting back on topic, yeah, getting back
I
on.
do not. I do not mind rewatching Solo at all. It's just a fun. The pacing of it, the locations. It just has an organic style, like original chili vibe, much like the Mandalorian show.
Hmm.
There's just something about it that just brings the magic of the original trilogy back into your inner kid.
Right. And that's one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite things to collect as far as five POAs was the solo figs.
Right.
And but
Right.
so, and I was very happy. I'm very happy with the collection I have currently. I'm missing a couple of things to complete what I feel like is a solid collection. But other than that, getting back on topic at hand, um, like I said, going into to this movie, I had no expectations because I didn't want to have high hopes or low expectations or anything. Because I feel like if you go into a movie with no expectations, out with a better experience. And I kind of knew heading in what to expect, but I didn't want to expect too much from it. And
Yeah.
judging by some of the reviews that I've heard and listened to and read, it was kind of a mixed review. More so, I guess you say good from what I saw and read
Yeah.
than bad. And then I'm sure other people they read or heard more bad than good. So it all depends on your audience and who you read and things like that. But coming away from the movie itself, it was a fun experience. I know that we can sit here and nitpick things that went wrong, but I'm not going to
Sure.
do that. Yeah,
Right. That's
but
a different video. That
yeah,
video is
I'm not
coming.
going. Yeah, and I'm not going to do that. But I will say that it did end on a solid note. It could have been better. There's some
Hmm.
things I didn't like about towards the third act of the film,
Right.
but other than that, overall, it had a good solid ending, and I think J.J. Abrams did
Yeah.
the best he could with what the material he had and used from what the Last Jedi left off as. Even though that
Right.
film left a sour taste in a lot of our mouths, I
Exactly.
think he did what he could to correct some of the things
The
that went wrong with
salvage,
that
right?
film. Yeah.
This
Um,
movie helped salvage the Force Awakens trilogy as a whole because the middle movie is so bad. This isn't the first time this has happened to our beloved Star Wars.
no,
Attack
no.
of the Clones was
Yeah.
a terrible movie. It was
Oh.
really, really bad.
Yeah.
And it was also the second film of the prequel trilogy. And fondly remember going to Phantom Menace. We weren't even 20 yet when that came out.
Right.
So we're 19, we're lifelong original trilogy fans. We love Phantom Menace. We were kind of blind. We had like tunnel vision, and we only saw what we wanted to see and what we loved. But when uh, Attack of the Clones came out, even the day I saw it, I remember walking out and thinking, that didn't even feel like a Star Wars movie. It was so overproduced with the blue screen. There was nothing tangible about that movie.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a Star Wars saga movie at all. And Hayden Christian, very rough start to the role as Anakin. His acting chops were just not where they needed to be. Maybe it was the script, maybe it was his lines he was fed, but just such poor acting and then the over CGI to the point that you knew you were watching something that wasn't real. There was no there was no feeling of disbelief that you were looking into another universe. That feeling was long gone there. It felt like a puppet show. So
Yeah.
the Last Jedi is similar to Attack of the Clones in that way, but for much darker reasons. Not
Right.
because they didn't have the money, because of course they had a budget to make Last Jedi amazing, and the aesthetics of the movie were amazing. The cast was amazing, but this director's vision for how he wanted to, the trajectory of the story of this trilogy was sent into such a confusing direction, and Abrams had to pick up the pieces from there, and with that, he did the very best he could with The Rise of Skywalker.
I'm surprised that he actually agreed to do the third film.
Yeah, as
But
bad as this guy left him holding the bag
mhm,
with, well, here you go. Here's your new trilogy. You're welcome. Bye. And he left it in
yeah,
shambles. It's like going away for the weekend, trusting somebody with your house. J.J. Abrams is a busy man. He's got a lot of projects outside of Star Wars. And he runs his own Bad Robot, has always overhead several projects. So he
right,
took his gaze off of what was going on with Rise of Skywalker because he thought Kathleen Kennedy and Rain Johnston had his back and they were going to, he didn't feel like he had to be as influenced. But when what happened, you can tell he went into, okay, we're in crisis mode. This is the money I've been given. This is the time I have. How can I correct this to the best of my ability? And I
right,
think that was achieved in this movie.
right. Yeah, like I said, and like you mentioned, he had to pick up the pieces and do the best he could with the material that he had. Um, Even though it wasn't very good material, but it was doable to the point to where it could satisfy the average Star Wars fan. May not satisfy the hardcore people, but the
Right.
hardcore fans, should I say?
Yes, and they're
But
out there, and
yeah,
are
and
very impossible to please those guys. And they
mhm,
keep a mind frame like that where they don't allow themselves to take their serious level down a notch. Because in the end of the day, this is just entertainment. It is a movie.
yeah,
It's
it's a
not
movie.
a life altering, thing that changes. I mean, people love Star Wars and they get passionate about it, but there's a lot of trolls. My dogs are misbehaving. But yeah, so we agree on that.
Yeah.
I look forward to doing a full review with Kevin and yourself so we can really talk about stuff. We give people another week. Uh, I don't think it's doing that good box office wise. But then again, like I said, this time of year, people don't have time to run the theater as much as they would during the summer. And this is a difficult time to launch a big movie like this.
Well, if they was going to do that, they should have done that like in the beginning of the month. You know,
Not
I think
on the week of Christmas, yeah.
yeah, because I think
Very solid point.
if I remember correctly, I think all the other ones, with the exception maybe the Force Awakens, that it did open up in the beginning of the month. And that's what made it pretty decent numbers. I think it had a decent opening, but it wasn't what they were expecting because I think they were trying to go out with a bang with this one. And I think maybe opening night made a pretty good impression, but as far as the rest of the weekend, I don't think it did. But I'm not sure of that, so don't quote me on that. But
Right.
um, if anything, if they was going to do that, they should have just did it um, January or February because those are the times when you as they would say that January and February is kind of like the graveyard of the movie releases
Right.
because it's not a there's
Not a
not a
lot
whole
of stuff comes out in those months. And when they do, they rarely amount to anything, or they're the kind of films that are just smaller releases by choice.
yeah,
And there is definitely an audience for those type movies. But
and
yeah,
it's just like a safe bet, for certain movies. Yeah,
normally the tail end of March leading into April is when things get exciting
right.
as we get closer to Memorial Day. But I think this is a good cap on here. You got any closing remarks you want to make that are not story? I mean, Palpatine, it's no secret Palpatine is in the film. That's been revealed by the trailers.
Hmm.
The Palpatine element is a big part of how this goes, the way they went about it. Um, what do you think of Palpatine and his portrayal? And he's in all three trilogies now. So he's
Yeah,
in
he
prequels,
is.
he's in the original, and now this one.
Yep, he was in the Return of the Jedi. That's when we saw him,
Right.
and then
Right.
he was a main fixture in the prequels, and then he was in the Rise of the Skywalker. So he
Right.
played a cornerstone of all three franchises, you know, and all three trilogies. Should I say? Um, as far as how that story unveiled, it was interesting. It was interesting. I think they, in my opinion, they were kind to use that as to try to lure some of the older fans back into the franchise.
Yeah.
Um, I
That'd be
think
a guaranteed way to get
I think
stuck up original trilogy purists.
yes,
Go
and
maybe see it.
I think that was a good marketing strategy. But as far as how it played out in the film, we'll get into that more later.
Right, we will, and we surely will. More Rise of Skywalker to content to come on the Savage Podcast. Kevin and Dave and myself are going to do a full review where we will talk every spoiler in the movie, and we will really discuss, in details what we thought, and we won't hold back. And I'm looking forward to doing that next week. But until then, Dave and I want to say thanks for watching and liking the video. Please subscribe. We got big plans to grow this channel, to grow the podcast, new content on the way in the year 2020. So thank you, Dave, and may the
Thank
force
you.
be with you guys. Thanks for watching.